all of our VAs go through 160 hours of live classroom training.
Wow.
And we do not play around. If a VA is ever late for school, barring the death of a family member, they're immediately dropped from the program.
Hey everybody, welcome to Annuity Fundamentals. I am your host, Kylie Malat, joined by our co-host, Ryan Anderson. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Stacy Sutter. He is out of Houston, Texas, and he is with Summit VA Solutions, and he helps agents get set up with virtual assistants so that they can streamline their business. So over the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to go over what a virtual assistant really means. And he's going to break it down for us. So thank you so much, Stacy, for joining us. We're happy to have you.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, now let's go ahead and get a little bit more of an in-depth introduction there, Stacy. Now you've got about a 14-year real estate career. You've been in charge of the founder and president of Summit VA Solutions for the last 10 years. And you guys have kind of started out in the real estate world, but you've expanded into a lot of other areas. So this podcast is designed and aimed at insurance agents. So if I'm an insurance agent and I need some help, I don't even know what a virtual assistant is. I don't know what they can do. I don't know what the cost is. How can this impact my business?
Oh, we can help you in a lot of different ways. The nice thing and the most important thing about doing these kind of interviews is that we get to educate the insurance agent about what a VA is. So a virtual assistant is a college-educated person. With Summit, they're all in the Philippines. They all have been college-educated, background checked, DIS tested, and they do all of that back office paperwork that the agent doesn't want to do, or consumes a significant amount of their time. Maybe it is, being able to handle the paperwork. Maybe it is calling their clients. Maybe it is social media marketing, database management, managing their email. It doesn't really matter what the skill is. The virtual assistants can learn it. These are really well-educated kids, and they really have a desire to work and be successful with their clients.
Absolutely. I think time is the biggest factor for any entrepreneur, really. You're wearing so many different hats, so it's really, okay, where is my time best well spent? I know for most agents, it's in the field. And so there's a lot of back end work, and I know I have thought to myself, gosh, I wish I had an assistant more than once. And that was when I was writing Medicare as well. So Medicare, long-term, short-term care, life insurance, annuities on top of it. It can be very daunting for one person, especially like an independent agent who doesn't maybe have a back office to help them. So I think having options is phenomenal, right? Especially for that independent agent or a newer. I wouldn't say maybe not a new agent would be a great fit for a virtual assistant because you need to learn the hard way, right? You got to get used to the processes. You have to have the system set up, right, for them to follow. So I guess tell us a little bit about that. When would be a good time to start looking for a virtual assistant?
It's different for everybody, but it's when it's financially viable. As I tell our clients, when you are doing everything that you can do in an 8 to 10 to 12 hour day, and there's still stuff left on your plate, that's when you need to hire somebody. Mm-hmm. Whether they're in your office or virtual. For us, the virtual process works so much easier. There's a cost factor, there's an education factor, there's a desire to work factor. But for that new agent that's coming into the business, they're bombarded. They learn everything that they can. They've got, their broker telling them stuff. They're reading books. They're doing all of that kind of stuff. And just like in any other business, 90% of what they need on their day-to-day operation is stuck inside their head. Mm-hmm. And so what we do as part of our training here at Summit, My business partner, Bernadette Canero, is an industrial engineer. So one of the big skills that we teach is how to write SOPs, or standard operating procedures. We also have a training process that we like the agent to go through with their virtual assistant, because, I've got 2 agents sitting in front of me right now, and I can guarantee that neither one of you run your office the same way as the other one does. Everybody does it a little bit different. And so that's the part that the agent is going to have to teach their virtual assistant.
Okay, now as we're going through here, there's 2 or 3 things as we're talking about this that really pop up. And Kylie and I have been in business together for about 5 or 6 years. We've got, in our current operation, they actually, it was her and our other partner, basically had almost an intervention. Ryan, you need to get an assistant. And so just because I was spread so thin from what you described, so I've got an assistant who's across town. She works from her house. It's lovely. But we have tried multiple times to go through and hire other people through Upwork, through Fiverr, through a lot of those folks are overseas to do gig work for us and to help with development stuff and all this. And we have had moderate to limited success with it for a variety of reasons. Part of it was a language barrier. Part of it was management. Part of it was cost. Part of it was our expectations and their expectations were different. They didn't connect.
Right.
And so, and then there's the ongoing piece to it. And one of the reasons we did that is if it didn't work out, we could fire him and never have to talk to him again. And we didn't have that awkward, piece to it. So kind of walk through that for me. How do we go through and, because I'm thinking if I'm an agent, I've got policies, they're online that I need to have them follow up on. And I'm thinking for myself personally, that day-to-day follow-up, making sure that they issue, that's a big deal for me.
Sure.
To go through and manage my Facebook account, which everybody says I need to get on social media, and nobody ever does it because it takes time.
Right.
Kind of walk through that for me. What does that look like?
So here at Summit, we're a little bit different than most VA companies. I'm not looking for clients that are going to be here for 60, 90, 120 days. I'm looking for clients that are going to be here 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So the initial process starts with us actually interviewing you, sitting down with you one-on-one, face-to-face, just like we are here, and talking about what your goals are, what your expectations are, where you see this VA fitting in, what skill set do you need, because that's going to make a big difference in who we recommend to you. We actually will interview you twice. The first time is typically with me, usually lasts about an hour. We go through the entire process together. Then the next meeting is you and I and one of the, or 2 of our operations managers. Here's the thing that happens. As soon as you and I have that conversation and we hang up, you're going to say, oh, I forgot to ask about XYZ. I wonder what if, da-da-da-da-da. And I tell you, when we get done with our first call, any of those questions, write them down, because we're going to be talking again in 2 to 3 days with my operations team. That's where they sit down. We go through the list that you've given me and allow you to add anything to it. The reason we do it that way is we want to make sure we have a very, very clear understanding of what you're looking for, what skill set you need, where your pain points are. And so that's why we do it that way. Once we've got that established, then we will actually begin going through our database and looking for the people who have the skill set that you need. We can find just about any skill set and any education level that you want. The Philippines is the most educated country in the world. It's their way out of poverty, and we want to be part of that for them. If you're not number 1 or number 2 in your class, let's say in industrial engineering, then you're most likely going to go work in a call center, because call centers in the Philippines require you to have a college degree to get yelled at by Americans who are upset with their United Club points and their American Express bill. So that's the interaction that most people have with Filipinos. And so, we will actually look for those people that have the skill set that you need, people that have some experience. Maybe that your need isn't really for paperwork, but you need help with social media and marketing and reaching out and contacting your past clients and staying in touch with them and scheduling appointments for your next appointment and confirming that appointment. Maybe it's confirming telephone calls or meetings before the agent shows up. As a real estate agent, there's nothing I hated worse than having a scheduled appointment and having nobody there or somebody not showing up. My time is valuable. Your agent's time is valuable. So having somebody follow up with that is a phenomenal piece to have. But once they've done that, then we go into, how do you get them? We go through, we interview. All of our VAs go through 4 interviews with 4 different managers. Then they have to be selected to go into our training program. They're then interviewed by our operations manager. And then the training starts. All of our VAs go through 160 hours of live classroom training. Wow. And we do not play around. If a VA is ever late for school, barring the death of a family member, they're immediately dropped from the program. If they ever score less than 90 on any quiz or exam, they're immediately dropped from the program. I am not the largest VA company out there. Have no desire to be. But I do want to be the best. And we want to provide the best quality service and provide the best people that we can. But on the flip side, it's important to know that this company was actually built for virtual assistants so that they would have a better quality of life, be able to afford their apartment. When you use platforms like you mentioned earlier, a lot of times you're going to find VAs that are working for like $3 an hour, $4 an hour. That's about what they make in a call center. Here at Summit, we pay significantly better, which means we get the cream of the crop. By the time they've gone through the interview session, and I'll just give you an example. We typically will start with 200 applications when we decide to open our training. The managers will usually narrow that down to somewhere between 90 and 100. Bernadette, our Chief Operations Officer, will narrow that class down to anywhere between 60 and 70. And we will typically graduate somewhere between 20 and 25 of them.
Wow.
We are not here to play. Our goal is to be more difficult than their client is going to be, so that we know that they're going to not fold under pressure. We know that they're going to show up every day. We know that they are dedicated to this. So you couple that with their education, their desire to work, which, let's be very honest, is an issue today. When I was in real estate, the average assistant was making somewhere between $18 and $25 an hour. And that was 10 years ago. So a virtual assistant is significantly cheaper than that. So that aspect of it, just the cost savings alone on the front end, even if they don't touch anything that's quote unquote confidential, just emails and social media marketing and database management and managing your calendar and all of those pieces will pay for the virtual assistant. So that's really where that piece comes into play. Once the VAs have graduated and we've interviewed you, then typically 2 to 3 days after your interview with our operations managers, then we will send you a package from the ops team. In it is going to be 5 or 6 applications. On each virtual assistant, you get their resume, their DISC test. If you don't know what DISC testing is, it's a personality profile exam. It's used by a lot of large corporations. We really like it. You're going to get a link to their computer speed, so you know their computers will run the programs that need to be run for them. And then finally, you're going to get a link to a short video that the VA has made themselves. And I'm not going to lie, some of them are just funny as all get out. most people are not used to talking about themselves, and filming it and videoing it. And so some of them we just sit here and just laugh our tails off and ask them to redo them. But, they talk about their previous experiences, their education. More importantly, they talk a little bit about themselves and their family. For me, that's an important part. As I said earlier, this company was built for VAs, not necessarily for our clients. Most VAs have to have multiple part-time clients. All of my clients are full-time. All of my VAs work 40 hours a week, 5 days a week, your schedule, your time zone. But that video gives you some insight into the human side of the person you're looking at. They talk about their families. They talk about what they've experienced in their lives. And they'll tell you how important this job is to them. With what we pay here at Summit, we make huge differences in people's lives every day. I get asked a lot. I'm 58 years old. I did very, very well in real estate. I really don't need to be working. And people say, why do you get up every morning and do what you do? Why do you travel 50% of the time on the road? It's because at the end of the day, I've got 300 families that I'm making a difference in their life. I'm making sure they can pay their rent, put food on their table, put their kids through college, buy cars, buy houses. And at the end of the day, really, that's what's important to me personally. The other thing that video does is it answers the big $10,000 question that you brought up earlier. How good is their English? You're actually going to hear them speak. And if for any reason you feel their English skills aren't strong enough, all you need to do is let us know, and we will pull that VA out of your interview session. I have no desire to have you interviewing people that straight up you're not interested in talking to. On the other side of that, my VAs never know until they're invited to the interview session that they were even an applicant. So if they're not invited, nobody gets their feelings hurt. So that's kind of the way we work through that process. The day of the interview, both of those operations managers are going to be with you. They're going to walk you through. They're going to invite and dismiss the virtual assistants. Then they're going to turn off their camera. They're going to turn off the sound. And you are going to interview each virtual assistant one-on-one, face-to-face. You can ask them anything you want, everything from, why do you want this job to, previous work experience to whatever you want. When you're done, the managers will come back up. They'll dismiss the VA and then answer any questions that you may have about their training. Understand here at Summit, all of the managers in operations who deal with the VAs on a day-to-day basis are required to be involved in their training. So they not only it's not just a name and a face in a database with a bio of their job description. They've actually been working with these folks for 4 weeks. They've met them on a personal level. The other thing that's probably important to know is of our clients, of our VAs, about 98% of them are actually personal referrals from VAs who already work for Summit. So that aspect of knowing who we're working with and who we're getting, we know where they live. We can show up their house. Not a big deal. If they go MIA, I have a pit bull for a chief operations officer. She will come visit.
Nice.
I love it. Stacy, that sounds like the Navy SEALs meets The Bachelor. That really does. You were describing just like the groups of people and all the things they have to go through. I was like, oh, this is legit. And then you're like, and then you get to choose and they get to interview you. And I was like, this is like the Navy SEALs meets The Bachelor. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Because that's an intimidating part, especially for people who have never had an assistant, let alone a virtual assistant. That can be intimidating. So just to hear you go through the entire process, you really do a lot of hand-holding on both sides for the client and for the VA. It has to be a good fit. And I think I mean, most people would agree with you. I mean, you have some people who are like, I have a box of caring, and if I, I don't care about my virtual assistant. I just want to make sure that my emails get sent.
That's
But
right.
more often than not, I mean, they do become a part of your daily life, because that is, I mean, those are conversations you're having. Your systems are getting implemented. You have to check in. I mean, it is important to have a good fit. And so I think, I mean, I have dabbled in virtual assistants a few years back. I was helping some agents who were interested, and their process was nothing like this.
That was a
So
train
there's
wreck.
a big
I remember
difference.
that.
That was a train wreck.
It was
That was
terrible.
An absolute train wreck.
Yep.
Well, hey, can I ask a quick question here as we're going here? It's good of me to cut you off there, but okay. So right now, I'm as we're sitting here talking, I am thinking about my own business. That we've got some projects going on where we're going to be leveling up here over the next 6 months, and yesterday we were actively talking about, okay, who do we need to have? I need to go through, and in my mind, I need somebody local, but as you're talking, it's like everything you just said. I need somebody to manage my calendar. I need somebody to manage my email. I need somebody to verify my appointments. I need to do that. If they're in the same time zone as me, they've got great English skills, then they can, in all reality, be somewhere else. So if you don't mind, now it's the beginning of 2025 right now, so that's when this video is posting. So if these prices or these things change, then obviously check your website. What is your website, Stacy?
www.summitVASolutions.com.
All right, so we'll make sure that's in the link below. But walk me through this process. And so how can this help me at my business? How much is this going to cost me? One of the things that we actually had, and oddly enough, we just went through this 2 weeks ago with our IT guy wanted somebody to help him with a technical piece. He hired, and he went through and contracted with somebody out of Mexico. So I am calling our CPA. It's like, all right, I got somebody we just hired in Mexico. What do I need to do? How do I pay this guy? How do I stay legit? And that was more hours than I cared to know to find out, oh, there's this form. And by the way, you have to follow these new tax rules to make sure. And I'm like, what? So much stuff I don't want to do. Help me out here.
I can do that. So let me start this story with this. Recently, in the last few months, Summit VA Solutions and a bunch of other VA companies all got to experience what we will call as a IRS colonoscopy. It was an amazing process, and everybody should go through it at least once. It was horrible. I mean, you're digging out paperwork from 5 years ago, right? What we think happened there and why it's kind of getting a little iffy to hire online. Let's start with that one. You don't know that person. You don't know their email. You don't know where they live. And you have no recourse if they were to steal all your data, right? Mm-hmm. You don't really know who they are. So first off, if you're going to get a VA, please go through a very legitimate company that has a process, that has a track record. Here at Summit, unlike most other VA companies, I actually carry a $2 million E&O insurance policy on the work our VAs do for our clients, just in case they were to screw something up. So there's that aspect of it. When you start talking about pricing, if you think it's a great deal hiring somebody at $3, $4, $5 an hour, let me just tell you, because I go back and forth to the Philippines about twice a year, if you're at that price point, you are keeping them just above the poverty level. And you know nothing about them, and they are working as an independent contractor. For Summit, we have had the exact same pricing for the last 10 years. A full-time executive VA working 40 hours a week, 5 days a week, your schedule, your time zone, is a flat fee of $1,500 US a month. We bill that $750 on the 1st, $750 on the 15th, and that is strictly to help with cash flow. I have clients that say, hey, I only want to pay you once a month. Not a problem. We will schedule you for once a month. our process, the VAs have already done the work before you are billed, so you're always paying arrears on that. So that's the way that piece works. If you want to break it out, it's $9.37 an hour.
That's what I was just doing. So
Yeah, I figured, I saw you clicking, so I figured, yeah, it's $9.37 an hour. But the important thing to know is that in the Philippines, outsourcing, aka virtual assistants, and the call center industry are the second fastest growing segment of their economy. Typically, if a VA is having internet difficulty, it's probably on our side of the ocean, not theirs. They have the fiber optic cable laid almost on every island in every major city and every minor city. So the internet connection is not usually an issue.
I got to say, okay, I didn't mention this previously. I was a missionary in the Philippines 30 years ago. The Philippines are near and dear to my heart. So this is the things you're talking. And I lived north of Manila in a little town called Sapang Palay, which is out in Bulacan. If you're from the PI, there it is. But at that point in time, 30 years ago, it's funny that we had to make a 45-minute bus ride once a week to get to a phone to call in and let people know that we were alive.
Right.
And that was our only contact. And now, I mean, as far as that goes, that I've got friends that are there still. I lived there for a couple of years. And so I'm talking to them, and their phones are nicer than mine. And as far as like, oh, hold on here, click, 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 click. And I was like, dude, that is so not the Philippines that I remember.
Right.
So, but no, amazing thing here. So,
well, since you brought that up, did you ever visit a location called Baguio?
Oh, yeah. Up north, and that's in Luzon, up north on the coast in the mountains.
Yep. That's about where 90% of my VAs are.
Okay.
It's, for me, it was always mind-boggling because, when people picture the Philippines, they think flat desert island, ocean level, 105 degrees all the time, and really high humidity.
Yeah,
and we go to Baguio. We go to Baguio. The summer temperature usually doesn't exceed 75 degrees. In the wintertime, it doesn't get below probably 35 degrees. There's pine trees and running water. And you go, they're at the same elevation as Denver.
Yeah.
They just don't get snow because they're closer to the equator. But it is an absolutely amazing place to get to visit.
Yeah.
Well, beautiful. Stacy, we appreciate you coming on. We're cutting it short on time here, but I know the takeaway from this is it's not your typical VA. You guys do it differently. I've been super impressed. I mean, I truly mean it when that interview process really took me back. I think that if you're serious about having a virtual assistant and it is not a 6-month commitment, they are looking for a year commitment, which I find, that's buy-in on both sides. So
Sure.
I can really see that you're wanting to take the business to the next level. So this is for entrepreneurs who are ready to do that as well. So if you're a new agent, I don't know that this would be a good fit for you. You have to have your systems down before you can teach a virtual assistant to read your mind, right? So you need to have your business pretty well down.
Well, let me just interject really quick. You don't have to have your business down. You just have to be able to explain it to somebody, and the VA will write it down for you.
There you
and
go.
actually build your SOPs for you.
All right, so I just want to hit that pricing one more time, just because, and I've got to be very honest with you, as we're sitting here talking, and in conversations we've had the other day, you have actually changed my thought for my own personal business, because we're going to be hiring some people, and whenever I've thought VA, I always think technical. I always think the behind the scenes. I've never thought somebody client facing, and it was like because of all of the stereotypes that are out there. So it's $1,500 a month. That will give you somebody for 40 hours a week. What if my business is not there yet? What if I only need 20 hours a week?
Unfortunately, because when VAs have to work part-time, they have multiple clients in multiple time zones. And that's why this company was built. They'll end up working 16, 18, 20-hour days, 6-7 days a week, and they get burned out, and it's just not fair to them.
Yeah.
And so when we started that's why this company is a little different than all of the rest.
So I need to have basically make a commitment for the next year, at least a 1 year commitment. Did I get that right?
Nope. Let me make
Nope.
it even better.
Okay.
If you get down the road 60, 90, 120 days in and it just doesn't work for you, with 30 days notice, we'll terminate our contract. If you like the virtual assistant process, but the VA that you chose isn't really gelling with you, just let us know. We will dismiss that VA, let you go through the interview process and choose a different virtual assistant. It's just like hiring anybody in the States. Not every time, you don't bat 1,000 every time you go out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes you have to go through a couple of folks until you find the one that you personally really click with. It's always fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Stacy, for joining us. In the comment section below, we will have all of the VA Summits or Summit VA Solutions info, so you can click on their website and talk with Stacy and see if that's a good fit for you. So thank you so much, Stacy, for joining us. My name's Kylie Malott. I'm with Annuity Fundamentals, and we will see you next time.